Stonehenge. In normal times, it's one of the most popular tourist destinations in the UK, a must-see sight for travellers to the south of England. These iconic stones, some dragged here all the way from the Preseli Hills of South Wales, 240 kilometres away, others from the Marlborough Downs, 40 kilometres to the north, have awed visitors for thousands of years. From Roman soldiers to 19th century antiquarians. Yet really, the famous Henge monument here is just one amongst many. The entire Stonehenge landscape is a sacred one. The famous blue and sarsen stones here being just one example of a complex series of structures and monuments crisscrossing the Salisbury Plains. Some much more difficult to fathom than others, either due to the construction methods used to make them, often in wood, or like nearby Avebury because of their immense size. Now, in 2020, using modern archaeological techniques, a new monument has been located. A series of massive holes, stretching for 2 kilometres. Once containing, who knows what. Astonishingly, it's being hailed by experts as the largest ever found in Britain. Let's take a look. "10,000 years ago, the Salisbury Plain, like almost all of Britain, was coated in a thick layer of forest. Even in those early days, however, some sort of ritual activity may have been carried out here by Mesolithic hunter-gatherers. Ancient post holes dating to this long bygone era having been found in the Stonehenge car park. Soon, however, the nomadic lifestyle of these people would come to an end, as an entirely new people and new way of life arrived on the island. Sometime just after 4000 BC, a great causewayed enclosure was constructed here. Similar to others found all over northern Europe, as well as numerous long barrows throughout the surrounding countryside. A precursor to a flurry of construction activity that would follow. Perhaps a claim on the land by incoming people from across the sea, having their genetic roots in far-off Anatolia, what is now Turkey. These incoming Neolithic farmers, much more numerous than the Mesolithic hunters, gradually spread to every corner of Britain, chopping down forest to make space for farmland and animal pastures as they went. By 3500 BC, a massive cursus monument was constructed on the Salisbury Plains. And finally, by around 3100 BC, still before metallurgy first arrived in Britain, the very first Stonehenge was built. This early monument consisted of a circular raised bank and ditch, known as a henge. Within the ditch are 56 pits, each around 1 metre in diameter, perhaps containing a timber circle, or even stones long since removed at some point in the past. Curiously, the bones of deer and oxen were strewn about the ditch, themselves already ancient by the time they were deposited here, maybe having been cared for down the generations since the animals died. Soon enough, however, perhaps as belief systems changed, the first Stonehenge fell out of use, with the area perhaps becoming a sort of crematorium for the deceased. There are thousands upon thousands of bones scattered around this landscape, often within monuments, perhaps as old temples were reused as tombs. Finally, by 2600 BC, the use of timber was abandoned, with the famous bluestones being erected, having been transported here all the way from southern Wales, perhaps along the old sea roads long plied by traders. Then, during the next couple of hundred years, massive sarsen stones were brought here from the north. The site completely remodelled and reshaped into the most impressive monument in all of Britain. It is also during this frenzied period of activity, requiring all the efforts of hundreds, maybe even thousands of individuals, that other monuments in the surrounding landscape were reshaped and remodelled too. Some of them perhaps forming part of a vast processional pathway crisscrossing the landscape. In 2004, just 3 kilometres northeast of Stonehenge, an ancient settlement was uncovered, totalling around 1,000 houses, home to as many as 4,000 people. When carbon dated, this settlement at Durrington Walls was dated to somewhere between 2800 and 2100 BC, the age of the stone circle builders. And it wasn't just a settlement that was discovered. Just by Durrington Walls, a monument had been found many decades before, often known today as Woodhenge. This large series of post holes, thought to have originally been filled with wooden posts, are littered with the refuse of the ancient world. Tellingly, not just the pottery of the Neolithic farmers, but large beaker pots too. Evidence of a new people arriving on the island, the beaker folk. The nearby grave, known as the Amesbury Archer, dated to around 2300 BC, contains more artefacts than any other early Bronze Age grave in Britain. And though Stonehenge was very much still in use during his lifetime, soon everything was to change, for the Amesbury Archer was a coppersmith who had spent his youth in the Alps. One of the earliest metallurgists in Britain, herald of a new age of bronze and power to come. One might be forgiven for assuming that Stonehenge had given up all its secrets, let alone revealing the largest prehistoric monument in all of Britain. In 2020, however, just that was found. Using modern surveying techniques from the sky, a vast series of massive shafts, forming a circle 2 kilometres in diameter, was pinpointed in the area immediately surrounding Woodhenge, with that monument in its centre. Each shaft is more than 5 metres deep and 10 in diameter, bigger than the largest trilithon of the main monument. Approximately 20 of these shafts have been found so far, but originally more than 30 are thought to have existed here. Unfortunately, a third of the circle is no longer available for study as a result of modern developments. Over the thousands of years since they were first in use, The shafts here, although enormous, gradually filled with earth. Noted and dismissed in modern times as natural sinkholes and dew ponds. It was only 21st century technology, including geophysical prospection, ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry, that revealed their true significance as geophysical anomalies. In other words, these were man-made. Initial radiocarbon dates have revealed that these shafts were built more than 4,500 years ago, making them contemporary with both Stonehenge and the settlement at Durrington Walls, just before the time of the Amesbury Archer. Of course, no surprise for this landscape, there are traces of an even earlier monument too. The boundary here appearing to have been laid out to include an earlier prehistoric monument, the Larkhill Causewayed Enclosure, built more than 1,500 years before the Henge at Durrington. Amazingly, the discovery of the Durrington shafts offers real evidence that the early farming communities of Britain had developed a counting system. Building something of this size, with careful, painstaking positioning of each hole, could only have been carried out by counting and tracking hundreds of steps. Theories are coming in thick and fast, and it will likely be several years before the full significance of this massive site is realised. Initially, however, it seems possible that while Stonehenge has a clear link to the seasons, the passing of time and the summer solstice, Durrington Walls, with its exterior of circle shafts, may have cosmological significance, perhaps used by ancient astronomers. It's been suggested that the boundary may have either guided people towards a sacred site within its centre, or warned against entering. Carved flint and unidentified bone fragments have been uncovered too, though, as of yet, archaeologists can only speculate how the features were once used. What remains clear is that considering the sheer size and scope of Durrington Walls and the surrounding Stonehenge landscape, this must have been an immensely important place for the people of southern Britain. The very existence of the stones here suggesting far-reaching trade networks between neighbouring peoples. The complexity and size of the monumental structures here remain as a testament to the capacity and desire of Neolithic communities to record their cosmological belief systems on the landscape. Evidently on a scale not previously anticipated. Nearby, similarly mysterious and massive monuments at Silbury Hill, AMESBURY, and others during the mid-3rd millennium BC, suggests a last flourishing of this ancient culture, before the arrival of a new world, the Bronze Age, and a new single grave culture taking precedence. Only time will tell what new discoveries are made here, always holding the potential to rewrite what we know of ancient Britain entirely. You've been watching Archaeology News. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.